Shrimati Vidushi Chaturvedi ji, Shri Rupinder Singh ji, Shri Amod Kumar ji, Shri Shailendra Singh ji, and Shri Prem Narayan ji. May I request Shrimati Vidushi Chaturvedi ji to please address the gathering.
Good morning, all dignitaries, my colleagues from UIDAI, dignitaries from the state governments. A warm welcome to all of you. Have a good day. Before beginning the workshop presentations, I would like to just run through a few slides of introduction and taking you through the journey of Aadhar. As you can see, simplifying Aadhar usage, we have been able to touch the lives of maximum people in India. And our endeavor is to humanly touch the lives of the last citizen, the last resident of our country, and actualize the dream of Mahatma Gandhi. The journey of Aadhar, as you can see, began in the year 2005. And in 2016, we had the Aadhar Act. The Supreme Court judgment, which is very famously known as the Puttuswamy judgment, was given in 2018, which was followed by the amendments to the Aadhar Act in 2019. 2020 and 21, we are taking Aadhar usage further in order to maximize the benefits of digital identity as explained by CEO Niti Aayog. And we are happy to have expanded to more than 400 state schemes and as many as, we are touching 99% of Indians, and as many schemes of the central government, almost all of them. The regulatory journey, as seen in the next slide, again tells of the details of the enactment of the Aadhar Act and the core regulations which have been formed to actualize the provisions of the Act and enable the execution of the Act in an efficient and effective manner. 2018, the Supreme Court judgment, we have the Aadhar as an important tool of delivering welfare activities, welfare services to the last mile, to the last resident. 2019 saw the amendment post-Supreme Court judgment, and 2021, we are expanding the usage of Aadhar, and as I speak, some new scheme is getting covered by Aadhar in order to maximize the usage of digital identity. Since Aadhar touches the lives of 1.3 billion, it is good to go through the provisions of the Act, which lays down the framework within which Aadhar is enacted and functions. Many of the state government dignitaries are already aware of the Aadhar Act, but because of its importance, it's good to keep reviewing it and keep revising it again and again. Aadhar is empowering citizens. It is a randomly generated 12-digit unique identification number. It ensures uniqueness by connecting a resident's biometric attributes, photographs, 10 fingerprints, and the 2 iris. It is voluntary in nature. The enrollment and update for Aadhar number is hassle-free, inclusive, flexible, and simple. It enables online authentication anytime, anywhere across the country. Security and privacy is ensured. No data sharing is permitted without the consent of the Aadhar number holder. All these features will be elaborated by my colleagues in the later part of this workshop. enabling distribution of subsidies, benefits and services in a transparent and timely manner. The central government and the state government requires a person to undergo authentication. If Aadhaar number is not assigned, the individual shall be offered alternate and other viable means of identification so that delivery of services can be unabatedly ensured. No denial of services for want of Aadhaar number. That is a very, very important feature. Aadhaar, not evidence of citizenship and domicile. This is given in the Act. Judgment dated 9 January 2019, Parvati Kumari and others versus State of UP says, Aadhaar card is a document providing conclusive connection between the photograph of the Aadhaar card holder, his fingerprints and iris scan details with the Aadhaar number. The name, address, and proof of date of birth given by the applicant is not authenticated by UIDAI, and the Aadhaar card is not a conclusive proof in regard to these entries. Committed to highest standards of privacy and security. Each requesting entity shall perform authentication only if it fulfills standards of privacy and security as per the regulations. It is under law framed by Parliament, or it is for such purposes as the central government, in consultation with authority, may prescribe in the interest of the state. Central government has notified accordingly the Aadhaar authentication for good governance, social welfare, innovation, knowledge rules 2020, and Rule 3 provides for purposes for which Aadhaar authentication can be permitted. Next slide, please. UIDAI is committed to the highest standard of privacy and security. The Aadhaar number holder shall be informed of the alternate means of identification and shall not be denied of any service for refusal to or being unable to undergo authentication. Mandatory authentication of an Aadhaar number holder for provision of any service shall take place if required by law made by Parliament. The obligations of UIDAI under the Aadhaar Act 2016 spells out security and confidentiality of records as per Section 28 and restriction on sharing information, Section 29. Next slide, please. The disclosure of information can be made only in the possible in the following ways. Section 33 of the Aadhaar Act 2016, pursuant to the order of a judge of the High Court, disclosure of identity information or authentication records other than core biometrics. I repeat, other than core biometrics, that is iris, fingerprints, can only be made pursuant to an order of a judge not inferior to that of a High Court, after providing the opportunity of hearing to the authority and the concerned Aadhaar number holder. Secondly, in the interest of national security, identity information or authentication records can be shared pursuant to a direction of an officer not below the rank of a secretary to the Government of India, specially authorized in this behalf by an order of the central government. Thank you. I hand over to my colleague for Enrollment Landscape. Over to Shailendra ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vidushi. Good morning, everyone. Now I shall take all of you through the enrollment landscape. So, one of the cardinal principles that Aadhaar is based on is that we collect minimal data for enrollment for Aadhaar. Only that much which is required to uniquely establish the identity of the person. And this includes the demographics, that is the name, address, gender, and date of birth. And in addition to that, the biometric data, that is the face, the fingerprints, and the iris. And for biometric deduplication, that is matching it for ensuring the uniqueness, it is matched with the existing 133 crore Aadhars that we have. So every new enrollment, the biometrics is matched with the existing biometrics in our database. The mobile and the email ID, these two are optional fields. And after the deduplication, the Aadhar is generated. Next slide. So, as you can see, we have reached to a stage where the overall Aadhar saturation in the country is more than 92%, it's about 93%, and 26 states or UTs have the Aadhar saturation more than 90%. There are only 2 states which fall below the 75% category, which are Nagaland and Meghalaya, but the others, these are all above that threshold. More importantly, you can see that the adult saturation is 100%, nearly 100%. And this has been possible due to the contribution of the enrollment ecosystem partners, and especially the state governments, who have been a major contributor to this achievement. Now, next slide, please. So, now that the new enrollments have plateaued, it's only the requirement for the child enrollment which comes up around 2.45 crores every year. The requirement for new enrollments has come down, and it has almost plateaued to around 2 to 3 crores. But the requirement for the updates has risen phenomenally. Last year, you can see that the number of updates that we did is around 16.6 crores. So the entire infrastructure is now to be geared towards catering to this requirement of updates. Because as the usage of Aadhar is increasing and it's gaining more and more prominence, the requirement for updates of the Aadhar is becoming an important factor. Next. One of the endeavors of UIDAI has been to improve the resident convenience and to make it more resident-centric. The number of enrollment centers that are functioning right now in the country across various states is around 57,000. These are permanent enrollment centers, and we are doing around 8.5 lakh transactions for Aadhar update daily. We have also simplified the process of updation of the date of birth, the name and gender, and the list of documents, the valid list of documents that is available on the UIDAI website also, which is required for enrollment and updates, the valid supporting documents. These lists have also been revised from time to time. And recently also the list has been revised and rationalized to make it more inclusive and make it more easier and convenient for the residents to get enrolled for Aadhar, and also for the updates of the addresses, which is now becoming a frequent requirement. One of the initiatives that we are trying to do is that to make the services all 7 days of a week available. So the Aadhar service kendras, you must have noticed, these are state-of-the-art service kendras on the lines of Passport Seva Kendra, which we have opened across various cities in the country, and these are managed directly by the UIDAI. So these centers work 7 days a week, but there are other Aadhar enrollment centers which generally managed by the government, state government registrars, or the other registrars like banks, CSE, Governance Limited. So these centers, we are trying that at least 1 or 2 of these centers are remain functional in every district, in every block, 24, all 7 days of a week, to make it more convenient for the residents to do the enrollment and update activities. We have also onboarded 48,000 postmen from IPPB who are involved in child enrollment as well as the mobile update. So they just carry a tablet, and which also has a single fingerprint device, which is used for mobile update and the child enrollment. And the plan is to onboard 1.5 lakh postmen. Out of that, we have already done 48,000, and this objective of onboarding 1.5 lakh postmen will be achieved soon. We have also onboarded the CSC BCs. So we are planning to onboard 21,000, and presently 13,000 CSC BCs have been providing the update services. The Unified My Aadhar portal, which is an online portal for updation of demographic information, that has been streamlined, and now approximately 50,000 residents are doing the online update through this portal. The other endeavor of the UIDAI has been to cover the vulnerable groups and especially target those for whom it is difficult to basically have a organized system for enrollment and update. So such groups like the bedridden, the senior citizens, the Divyangs, for them, we have brought the home enrollment policy, which will be in place soon. And we have also been in touch with the social organizations and the NGOs to help us in this endeavor and to reach out such people for whom special facilities have to be organized and special camps have to be organized, like the laborers, the migrant laborers, and also the children in the orphanages, etc. And one of the outcome of the special drives that we have taken for enrollment of children in orphanages is that we have been able to unite some of the children to their families. Because earlier, some of the children would have been enrolled for Aadhar, but they might not have known. I mean, the orphanages may not have been knowing that these children have been earlier enrolled for Aadhar. And in the process of again enrolling them, a lot of children, we have been able to unite them to their families. Next. So now coming to the present enrollment facilities, because this is of importance to the state government, we have right now about 57,000 permanent enrollment centers, and there are 36,000 tablets. And these are being managed through various registrars, including the state registrars, which has a major share. So out of the 57,000 enrollment kits, around 22,000 enrollment kits, these are the active number of kits that are with the state government registrars. And around 4,700 active CLC kits are with the state registrars. Next slide. So, and the breakup of the state registrars across the country is, in this slide, is that mostly it is being handled by the nodal departments, that is the IT departments of the states. But we have also provided the ICT assistance to the school education department, the women and child development department, the health department, and a few of other registrars in the state governments. Why I have highlighted the school education department and the women and child development department in red color, we'll come to see in the next slide, is that, next slide please, is that this is very important, this particular area where we have given the kits to school education in the WCD department is important from the point of view of enrollment for the children, where the enrollment percentage Aadhar saturation is still quite less. And with this objective, the ICT assistance was provided to the states. And if you see the figures, so out of the ICT assistance that we have provided, the number of kits that have been procured by the state governments are quite okay. The WCD department in the states still have to catch up, but then the number of kits that are actually in use, that are active, that is very, very less. So it is in this particular area that I'll urge the state governments to have a look at the proper utilization of all the kits that have been procured out of the ICT assistance, because this is one area where we really need to focus for enrollment of children below the age of 5. Next. And apart from the 0 to 5 enrollment that I have already discussed about, the other support that we require will be requiring from the state governments and the state registrars is that, as I have already mentioned, that we have taken up a project in 2019 of setting up of Aadhar service kendras. These are state-of-the-art enrollment centers, and these are managed directly by the UIDAI through the vendors, of course. But the idea is to have these Aadhar service kendras in all the districts of the country. So till now, we have been able to set up 88 ASKs in 72 cities, but the idea is to have in each and every district of the country. And for this, we have already started the process, and we should be able to start selecting the vendors for this maybe within next 2-3 months. But the request is that the state government, we would like, right now, the ASKs are located in commercial centers. But when we scale it up, and to all the districts in the country, we would like that there is more involvement of the state governments in setting up of the ASKs, and they should come up to provide the official buildings, premises, wherever it is possible in the districts, to set up these for better enrollment, for better monitoring and control and supervision of the enrollment and the update activities in these centers. So this is one. The other is that the other area that we are targeting is that to make the enrollment more secure and also to have it in only designated locations, because the requirement for new enrollments has come down to a very low level. Last year, the new enrollments for adults was only about 30 lakhs, except Assam and Meghalaya. So if we look at these figures, so the requirement is really where we can try to limit it to designated centers, where we can have more control over these centers. So in that line, again, we are planning to have the mini ASKs on the lines of the ASKs in the blocks, in each and every block. And for that, I would urge the state governments that the lead may be taken by the state governments if they can get the ASK set up through their own registrars, their state registrars, or maybe in consultation with the CSE e-governance, because they have shown interest in that. So it is up to the state government, but the lead has to be taken, and also the space, if it is provided by the state government in any government office building or government premises, that will be much better. Next. So next, this is the last slide that I have in the enrollment landscape. So there are some improvements that we are envisaging in the enrollment process. Some of them are already underway, but some in pilot stages. But this is what we are looking forward to in Aadhaar 2.0 also, is that first is the integration with birth and death registration database. So right now also in some of the states we are doing the birth registration, the Aadhaar enrollment through the birth, by fetching the data from the birth registration databases. But in those states where the state governments are already on the CRS, that is the Central Civil Registry System. But in most of the states, this has not still been achieved, that states are not on the common CRS portal. So that is one area where the state governments will have to look into whether if they onboard to the common CRS portal, that will make things much easier for enrollment of children. And the second is for flagging of the Aadhaar of the deceased person. So that data also we are trying to get from the Registrar of Birth and Death. Next is the standard format that is used for enrollment in case the resident does not have any other proof of citizen, proof of address, proof of identity, or the valid supporting documents. Then in that case, there is a standard UIDAI certificate, which is generally issued by a certain category of persons, like the Group A gazetted, Group B gazetted officers, MPs, MLAs, and so on. So there are 5-6 categories of officials who can issue this standard certificate, and this is taken as the valid proof of identity or the proof of address. So, but this is right now taken in physical form, and then it is uploaded or scanned. What we are planning is to have an e-signing portal for this, to make it sure that there's no misuse of this particular feature that has been provided by UIDAI, and it has to be e-signed using Aadhaar. So the identity of the person using will be well established. And also we will come to know as to if there is any misuse, and I mean, if there are a number of standard certificates being issued by a particular issuing authority, then also this can be seen if the portal is developed. And the third is the verification of documents through DigiLocker. So right now, this is still in a pilot stage. We have started taking the driving license from the DigiLocker, but we are in process of discussing it with the DigiLocker that if the number of documents which have been made available in the DigiLocker, these could be fetched for the purpose of enrollment as valid proof of identity or the address, then the verification of document parts will become much easier. Lastly, the idea is to have APIs with all the document issuing authorities which are there in our list of documents, So if all those authorities, they have a computerized database, and we can develop APIs to whatever information is given to us, whatever documents are submitted to us at the time of enrollment, if we can verify it through the document issuing authorities through the APIs, the issue of verification of documents at the time of enrollment would become much easier. So these are few of the things that we are trying to do insofar as the enrollment process is concerned and strengthening of enrollment process. And once again, I would like to thank all the participants from the state governments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shailendra ji. I will be covering the authentication aspects of Aadhaar ecosystem. So just, we have been all using authentication for delivery of various services, but just to refresh, I'll take you 2-3 slides of basics of Aadhaar authentication. Aadhaar authentication, when we say, we mean online authentication, and I stress the word online because I'll be coming separately to the offline verification also. So in Aadhaar online authentication, we basically verify the identity of the resident, that he who claims whatever he is, whether it is true or false. So in this process, the Aadhaar number of the resident is submitted to UIDAI database, and along with that, one of the 3 modalities are taken care of. The first is broadly 3, demographic. So in addition to Aadhaar number, one of the demographic attributes out of the 4 demographics given at the time of enrollment, which is name, gender, date of birth, and address. So one of these attributes can be given, and we verify it. We call it demographic authentication. For certain higher security transactions, entities prefer to go for biometric authentication. In that, the Aadhaar number, along with one of the 3 biometric attributes, fingerprint, iris, or face, they are given to our database. Fingerprint and iris has been in use for so many years, and recently we have introduced face authentication also. I'll cover in little more detail face authentication. Third is, of course, the OTP. You can submit your Aadhaar number and OTP, the mobile number. The OTP will come to the mobile number, which is already linked with the Aadhaar number. And the output is again of 2 types. It can be yes or no. That is, if you submit the name, Mr. X, and the Aadhaar number, so UIDAI will say, yes, this number, Aadhaar number belongs to Mr. X, or no. Second is the eKYC. In eKYC, we give all the 4 demographic details, name, gender, date of birth, address, along with the photograph. And this eKYC is digitally signed by UIDAI. So almost all the organizations, be it the telecom service providers, banks, who are consuming eKYC, this detail is automatically populated in their performance. So they don't have to fill the form again for the resident or the applicant of their services. So needless to say, this has convenienced the life. Authentication services. Latest example, now you can open your bank account using eKYC services sitting at your home. You can get your PAN card with eKYC services, and recently in the Ministry of Labor, they issued around 40 crore e-Shram cards based on the Aadhaar authentication OTP-based services. So that is the convenience. Otherwise, you can imagine the amount of administrative labor that would have gone in to enroll 40 crore unorganized laborers over a period of couple of months only. Just to take you around very high level architecture, how the authentication system works, I won't go into much of details. We have, on the basis of security of our authentication system, we have organized 2 layers of security, 2 layers of organizations are there. All the state governments who are using our services, we categorize them AUAs, Authentication User Agencies. But there are around 172 AUAs are there. They include state government entities, banks, and central government entities. But it hides one figure that NIC is one of the AUAs, And NIC alone caters to 140 state government entities. So we can add to that. But these, and those AUAs who are also have been extended the facility of eKYC services, we categorize them as KUAs. But these AUAs or KUAs cannot directly ping upon our servers. For that, there is another layer of ASs, Authentication Services Agencies. They are lesser in number. They are at present 22 odd, because it takes a lot of security measures and least line to reach our database. So NIC is one of the ASs, very preferred one for the government entities. Then all the telecom service providers are there. In the fintech sector, NSDL, CSDLs are the most preferred ASs. So that's how whatever request is generated by some AUAs, it goes to ASA, and ASA then sends it to our CIDR. That's how it works. Coming to the second aspect of offline verification, we are just using a different word for offline, not to confuse with the authentication. When we say authentication, it means online authentication. For offline authentication method, we have also made recently legal provisions in our regulations also, that wherever internet availability is not there, plus some of the entities, some hotel is there or some school is there, who don't have the wherewithal to have all the IT infrastructure to become AUA, but still they want to have the facility of verifiable Aadhaar-based identity. For them, we have provided this offline verification method. And this can be done in a number of forms. In physical form, the Aadhaar letter, Aadhaar card which we issue, or the printed PVC card, you can give to that entity, and that entity, as per the regulation, is supposed to verify it using the QR code. This QR code printed on our Aadhaar letter is also a special one, because it is not any general QR code which we find on any commercial products. It's a secure QR code, and again digitally signed by UIDAI, and it gives all the information which is given in the eKYC online authentication. In electronic form, e-Aadhaar is there. A resident can share his or her e-Aadhaar. Then XML file is given by UIDAI to the resident on OTP demand based. And the third electronic form is that we have our own Aadhaar app, which is very popular. There is more than 10 million downloads. That also provides a facility that you can share your Aadhaar number, verified Aadhaar number, with the user entity. Another element in this we have introduced is that so far we have been talking about authentication or verification, that demand comes from the user agencies. Now the residents have been saying that, look, you have issued 130 crore Aadhaar cards, but if I, on my own volition, I want to verify my identity, how can I do it? For that also we have provided regulations that if I want to give my Aadhaar and prove my identity, nobody can stop it. Only caveat or rider is that whosoever is accepting your Aadhaar number has to get it verified using online or offline means. Just a small statistics, the usage, it's a very, like the updation my colleague told, daily updations are happening. Authentications are also happening. That shows it's a very live and vibrant ecosystem. For last couple of months, every day more than 6 crore authentication were happening. Now it's touching the figure of 7 crore, of which more than 1 crore is the eKYC. The cost for government entities, state government and central government, is free of cost. For others, commercial, for banks, we earlier used to charge 20 rupees for eKYC, but last year we have reduced substantially to rupees 3. For yes/no authentication, the cost for the private entities is even lesser, that is 50 paisa per transaction, but for government entities, both are free. And of course, the offline is all free of cost. You just have to download one QR reader. Again, that app is also provided by UIDAI. This is again a year-wise progress that how, since at the rate of 6 crore per day, Aadhaar authentication transactions last year, they crossed 1700 crore. eKYC 238 crore was the figure last year. Coming to the biometric authentication, fingerprint is the predominantly used factor. Out of the 5,500 crore biometric authentication, nearly 5,400 crore, that is 98% of biometric authentications are done through fingerprint mode. You can see that in PDS fingerprint, in Manrega fingerprint, in AEPS, in fintech sector, it is the fingerprint which they are using. It comes with its own pros and cons. Benefits are that it is the cheapest so far method of doing biometric authentication, because the biometric device costs less than 2,000 rupees. But the flip side is that in some segments of population, the failure rates are cause of worry. And again, we have noticed our analysis has shown that some of the use cases for the same pool base of the population have better rates, and for some like PDS Manrega, for Manrega one can understand, PDS one can understand the rural population, they do hard labor, their fingerprints get erased with the passage of time and the success rate falls down. But when the same population base goes for availing the services of banks or telecom services, the rates are definitely higher than that. So there are some steps we can take in state governments while delivery of these services where the success rates can be improved. The factors, as I told, damage of minutiae. Minutiae is the fingerprint pattern over aging for senior citizen, or if somebody is doing most of manual labor. But here one cannot do much. But there are other factors where we can train our operators for PDS, fair price shop holder or Manrega operator. If there is a proper placement of the finger is cleaned, the scanner is cleaned, and the device are replaced. If the devices have gone bad, they should be replaced. So this can result into 10 to 15% improvement of fingerprint authentication rate itself. Earlier, there was an issue of broadband connectivity. I mean, 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years ago, you could have seen some pictures that people are climbing on treetops to do the authentication, but that is a thing which is behind us. Now, no more these things get reported even in media. Recently, in February, we have introduced a new modality in biometric authentication, which is face modality. In this, now in the beginning, we have introduced this on Android system. We will be coming up with iOS also. The advantages are manifold. One, you don't have to buy separate biometric fingerprint device even. Second is that any low-end sub 10,000, 8,000 cost Android phone will do. Application is available on Play Store. Anyone can download, and using the license key of the AUA, biometric authentication, face modality can be done. This I have already covered. And of course, it's a touchless. The last 2 years, the corona you can see they give that additional impetus that because off and on, we had to stop our biometric attendance in our government offices. Now for old age people, that fingerprint, minutiae, and everything, if it's getting quality is getting poor, that we need not worry. And in POC, when we did the proof of concept last year with NIC as our partner, so we used Jeevan Praman application for the senior citizens So they, sitting in the comfort of their home, they downloaded the app, because every year around month of November, they have to give the life certificates. So it was very popular, and success rate is much higher than even fingerprint or iris. We promote iris also wherever the fingerprint fails. But iris, again, the cost is the big impediment, because it's almost double the cost of a fingerprint device. But with face authentication, that also is taken care of. In last few months, we have been taking our regular training and meetings with AUAs, and we have been very strongly recommending that AUAs should adopt this modality. Way forward, one thing I have already covered, that training of operators can make a big difference. So that should be done on regular basis, because operators of, whether it is of Manrega or PDS, they keep on changing. People keep on changing. So every quarter or every half yearly, as per your convenience, kindly have a regular program of training from our side, from UIDAI. Our regional offices for last 2 years, they have been very actively pushing, and we can provide our resource person. They can come in physical or online training. We will be happy to participate. Device replacement is another factor. In fact, it also came to, it was a very surprising discovery for us also, because whenever a new device vendor comes to us, to STQC under the aegis of Ministry MIT and UIDAI, so we both give combined joint certificate to the device holders. So recently we were conducting a POC for a next level of, we call it L1 level of devices, fingerprint devices. And around 6,000 resident samples were collected in Delhi and Ghaziabad at PDS shops. And because these were new devices under supervision of UIDAI officials, and this POC was overall supervised by CDAC. We had, as a third party, we had given to them. And the success rates were touching 99%. It was too good to be true for us also. So we are giving this figure with a caution, because we want to verify it over a much bigger sample before we can recommend these devices. One more, this comes as a request from UIDAI also. In February, we had, I'll take you to the next slide first. Can you take 2 slides ahead? Someone? Yeah, that's all. So this is just a very simplistic technology slide, that this is how we used to read the fingerprint. So fingerprint, their patterns, then the depths of these patterns, we call it minutiae. And around 40 to 50 points, our algorithm reads the minutiae there, so that it can understand the pattern and the depths of the finger imprints. This is how we have been working so far. But recently people have become some smarter, who want to do frauds, or even more smarter. So some cases came to our knowledge that some gummy finger or spoofing of the fingerprint was used successfully in one of 2 sporadic cases for fingerprint-based authentication. Then our in-house team, we have now introduced a concept of FIR, fingerprint image record. This is in addition to the fingerprint minutiae record. This is very heavily AI/ML based algorithm developed by our own set of engineers, and has been successful. It takes care of, it precludes all the attempts of finger spoofing or gummy finger thing. We sent a request letter to all the AUAs in February that please introduce this. Then some of the entities were able to successfully use it, but others are still lagging. So we have now given the last date is 30th June. So I would request you to kindly, we have still 1 month to go. We have been talking to NIC separately, to wherever NIC is providing its services to state governments or central government departments, they are ready with this FIR modality, and they have done the requisite changes in their applications. But wherever state governments are using the services of other service providers apart from NIC, you will have to kindly urge those entities to fast track this. With that, I'll come to the end of my. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, House is now open for the
No,
question
no,
and answer
sorry,
session.
we are still continuing.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the, yeah.
Two more presentations have to go.
So one of the important endeavor of UIDAI is the customer relationship management. The entire population of the country is the customer of UIDAI, whether they have been issued Aadhar or they are to be issued Aadhar, so they are our customers. In order to have the customer relationship management in place, we have CRM ecosystem in place. We have different channels through which we are getting queries and grievances from the residents across the country. So we have the toll-free number 1947. We have email ID. We also have the Help One desk where we are getting the grievances from the residents directly mailed to the officers of UIDAI. We have the resident portal where the resident can lodge a complaint. We have chatbot available on our UIDAI website where the resident can raise the query and get the answer from the chatbot. Also, we have in our regional offices, we have the grievance management system where the resident can directly walk in to the regional office and lodge his or her complaint. So once these complaints we receive through various channels, they are registered in our CRM application, CRM system. So each and every grievance is registered as a unique registration number. And depending on the nature of grievance, these are further sent to respective either regional offices or the respective division in the headquarters for further disposal. Next. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we can see the volume. On an average daily, we get about 2 lakh calls on our toll-free number, and about 60% of these calls are getting addressed on our IVRS. We have IVRS in place, so while punching the EID number or SRN number, service request number, or update request number, the resident can get the detail of the respective query. And if that is not possible on the IVRS, then the calls are transferred to the agent sitting in our contact centers located across the country. And then the agent in the contact center, they register the grievance, and then further that grievance number is communicated to the resident, and the resident can get the status of the grievance. We also get about 5,000 emails from the residents as part of the complaints or queries. We have another 5,000 queries coming through other channels like web portal, chatbot, letters, and walk-in. So you can see that we have a system where we are getting huge response or huge contact from the residents. Next slide, please. Yeah. Here you can see we get roughly around 20 lakhs complaints every month. We have here the figure of April. We got about 17 lakh cases registered in our CRM systems. 84% of these were of query in nature. 16% were of complaint. We dispose of about 92% of the grievances within 7 days' time, and 97% within 15 days' time. and further 99.5% grievances in within a month's time. So we have a regular monitoring mechanism in the headquarters, and we monitor the complaints. On the other side, we also, you can see the trend. We have disposed of the complaints month-wise. So we have more or less similar trend of the complaints, but major complaints are coming through our toll-free number. We are in the process of rolling out new CRM system where all channels will be integrated in our CRM system, and we are planning to roll it out by end of this month, by 30th June, where all the grievances coming through different channel will be registered in our centralized CRM system, and those grievances will be disposed of based on the nature of grievances, either through the regional offices or through the respective divisions. We have also the CRM modules like standard response template. We have chat response template for the chatbot, mobile application. Quality, we also monitor the quality of grievance. The survey, we conduct survey also, and we will be having the reporting of the grievances. There will be board and user management. In the user management, we will provide the password and the ID for the users to log in. We communicate Aadhaar number through various modes. So one of the mode is the Aadhaar letter. These Aadhaar letters are printed by our print partners located at Manipal, Hyderabad and Bangalore. Another mode of Aadhaar number communication is the PVC card. And in case if Aadhaar letter has not reached in time, then a resident can also download e-Aadhaar by using a EID number, and that can be instantly downloaded and can be used. We have, since inception, we have printed and dispatched 174 crore of Aadhaar to the residents across the country. Out of that, 133 crore roughly are the new Aadhaar letters, and 42 crore update Aadhaar letters. So we provide free Aadhaar letters, new Aadhaar letters, as well as update Aadhaar letters. We have also provided the service of 161 crore e-Aadhaar downloaded by the residents. On an average, 6.25 lakhs Aadhaar letters are downloaded daily. And the PVC card service we introduced in the month of September 2020. And it's a paid service by making a payment online 50 rupees. And the PVC card has got certain security features, and these security features are meant for the purpose so that it should not get duplicated in the market. So that's the purpose. And these PVC cards are sent by Speed Post Service of India Post. And these less than 2 years, we could able to print and supply about 2.25 crore Aadhaar PVC cards to the residents against the orders placed by them. On the request of Ministry of Home Affairs, we have also provided PVC cards to the fishermen. And then with that, in fact, daily we get about 40,000 people ordering Aadhaar PVC cards. So this is one of our premium service of Aadhaar PVC cards, and it's very, very popular in the country. So with these words, I will now hand over to my colleague, Mr. Amod Kumarji, for expanding Aadhaar uses. Thank you.
Good morning. As you have already seen, my colleagues have presented you with the Aadhaar ecosystem, the enrollment, how the enrollment takes place, how the authentication takes place, how we handle grievances, and the legal framework. All this is geared up towards enabling you to use the Aadhaar for the ease of living of the citizens. And here I would like to share what the states and some ministries of the Government of India have done to use Aadhaar for the best convenience of the citizens. So legal provisions related to Aadhaar authentication, basically there are two ways in which you can any state government or central government can use Aadhaar, which has been enabled by the Act, under the Act. So under Section 4.7 and under Section 4.4b1, an Act of Parliament can enable mandatory use of Aadhaar or voluntary use of Aadhaar. And under the notification under Section 7, when any scheme is using funds from Consolidated Fund of India or Consolidated Fund of State, if that scheme is notified under Section 7, then we can use Aadhaar and take Aadhaar numbers of the citizens and use authentication system. And apart from, even if there is no expenditure involved from Consolidated Fund of India or state, for enablement of good governance, for good delivery of services to the citizens, under Section 4.4b2 also a scheme or service can be notified. Some of the examples are mandatory Aadhaar authentication is under Income Tax Act, under Social Security Code. And then under voluntary, there are many laws under which it is, and in an act made by Parliament, it is provided under Section 11A of PMLA and in Telegraph Act. Under Section 4.4b2, 71 proposals of central and state governments are there and have been notified for using Aadhaar for better citizen convenience in delivering services. And under Section 7 is the most used notifications are, most of our notifications are under Section 7, in which 315 schemes of 48 central ministries and more than 540 schemes of the state governments are notified. Some of the examples are like Manrega, NSAP, PDS, DBT, PM Kisan, PMAY, APY. So under all these schemes, so now here that state governments are there, you can see, and a booklet has been provided to you in the bag which you have, which lists many of these notifications. It will give you an idea where all Aadhaar is being used by the state governments and central governments, and you can think of similar ways of using it in other schemes. Next. Yeah. So just to give you some example how deeply Aadhaar is embedded in residents' life. In food department, 73 crore residents have linked their Aadhaar with ration card to avail ration. Roughly 28 crore residents have linked their Aadhaar with cooking gas connection for LPG subsidy. Almost 100% of the farmers have given Aadhaar for receiving benefits under PM Kisan. And if you see in the finance sector, 77 crore Aadhaar are linked to a bank account for receiving DBT benefits. There are roughly 140 crore bank accounts, and out of those, 120 crore bank accounts have been seeded with Aadhaar. So far, 899 crore APB transactions and roughly 1360 crore AEPS transactions have taken place using Aadhaar. APB is Aadhaar Payment Bridge, and AEPS, one slide back, one back. And AEPS is Aadhaar-enabled payment systems, those micro ATMs which BCs use in rural areas. Estimated DBT savings which have been made possible by use of Aadhaar till last financial year were to the tune of 2.25 lakh crores. So this is the advantage which we have got by using Aadhaar for eliminating duplicates, fake beneficiaries, eliminating ghosts in different government schemes. Next. So what we have been trying to do over the past 1 year is to simplify it further so that there is more uptake of Aadhaar. You heard our finance secretary sharing that now we should not fear in using Aadhaar, and we should make the best possible use now that the Supreme Court judgment had also validated Aadhaar. So in order to facilitate better uses of Aadhaar, we have issued 3 OMs in last year. The first was issued on 27th October, and which clarified that the central government is one entity as described in Article 77 of the Constitution of India. And so the record from one scheme can be shared with the other scheme for the benefit of the beneficiaries from that scheme. So there is no bar because central government is one entity. Next. The second memorandum was for getting a broad-based consent from the citizen. So right now you take consent for each scheme, but you can take a broad-based consent from the citizen for taking welfare from the government. Next. And third was that amongst the state governments and between central government and state government, there can be a sharing of Aadhaar-based data, Aadhaar-related demographics, as long as you are masking the Aadhaar. And masking or redacting of Aadhaar means first 8 digits are blocked, only last 4 digits are opened. And this is sufficient for any purpose of deduplication, because even if you take the last 4 digits, but if you have the demographics, date of birth, name, gender, address and all, you can very easily deduplicate even with the masked this thing. And while it ensures privacy of the citizen. Next. We have also reduced the charges, authentication charges, Rupinder already shared. So in yes-no authentication for government agencies is completely free. You can do as many authentications as you want. There is no charge. Per transaction charge for yes-no authentication for non-government agencies is only 50 paisa per authentication. For e-KYC, again for government agencies it is free. For telecom firms it is ₹1 now, which was earlier ₹20. And for other entities, including banks, it is ₹3 only, which was again earlier ₹20. And offline verification, which Rupinder had explained, it is always been free. The other, this thing is of course offline verification, which has already been explained. And then the voluntary uses, we have enabled voluntary uses of Aadhaar. So as a citizen, you need not fear in giving your Aadhaar to any other body, because we have, under the law, you can voluntarily use Aadhaar. Next. Face authentication has already been explained. We have launched mobile-based face authentication from October 2021, and 3 schemes are being piloted: Jeevan Praman, NHA, and Fruits in Karnataka. In the afternoon session, you will have a presentation from Karnataka about Fruits. And it is being used by banks like PNB, Kotak, RBL, HDFC, and ICR also. They are being approved, but they have to use in assisted mode, that is not by the self-use. There has to be someone from the agency. And there can be further possible uses of face authentication, which we envisage in future. Many of you in the states are quite sometimes express concerns about Aadhaar data vault and hardware security module. So a few solutions are shortlisted and POC would be conducted so that we can also bring down these costs and charges. Next. In financial products and services, these are the numbers which we have today. There are roughly 120 crore mobile connections, 78 crore smartphones, 81 crore internet subscribers, 50 crore PAN holders. So this is the financial landscape in which Aadhaar is being used, and there is a further scope for Aadhaar's expansion in non-banking financial institutions and cooperative banks, securities, pension, and in insurance. So there is a big scope of Aadhaar expansion in these areas. Next. when you update, I think many of you would have updated your address in Aadhar. And right now, when you update your address in Aadhar, it only gets updated in Aadhar. We are trying to see that if you have uploaded your documents in DigiLocker and you have a DigiLocker account, and once you update your address in Aadhar, then it can ask for your choice in which other documents you would like it to be updated automatically. So it will save a lot of hassle to the citizens. And once they change address, once they move somewhere, it will lead to, we are not saying that it will automatically get updated. It will first ask you, and if you want to update in that document, in those very documents, it will upload the address. You will see the presentations in next sessions from the states. There have been many initiatives which states have taken in Odisha, Arpana scheme, and in Kalia scheme. It has been used in Jharkhand, is using for land registration, and also for e-Mulakat. Andhra Pradesh is. So I have just listed a very, very few number of schemes from different states whose presentations you will be seeing, so that it leads to mutual learning amongst the different states. Next, I think. So I think that's all from my side.
Thank you for sharing such extensive and elaborate presentations on development and usage of Aadhaar. Ladies and gentlemen, House is now open for the question and answer session. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, hi sir. I am Prabhat from the Department of IT, Government of Bihar. Thank you for the insightful session, sir. Sir, I have two queries. One from the legal aspect and second from the grievance team. First is, sir, as far as the legal aspect of Aadhaar authentication is concerned, section 4, section 44B1 and B2. So section 4, section 7 and 44B1 are okay, but we have to take the approval of MIT, and then we have to go to UIDAI for getting approval under SWIC rules in section 44B2. So my observation is, sir, if for a particular use case or for a particular project, if it is being approved by MIT and UIDAI, it should be a suo motu approval for rest of the states who are willing to apply under the same scheme. Like recently under NGDRS, multiple states are going to MIT for the same thing. So, first one. And second one, sir, the children who are residing in the children's home and the deaf and dumb people who are residing there, they have no mobile number, and for enrolling them, mobile number is required for getting e-Aadhaar. So if mobile number is not there, so what is the workaround to get the Aadhaar in bulk for them? Because for maximum of them, they get regularly transferred to other homes. So it is in 80% of the cases, it is a rejection case. Their enrollments get rejected due to duplicate. So for a government office, it is a very tedious task to get their Aadhaar in bulk. So these are the two questions, sir. Thank you.
Good suggestion. First, I will try to understand your question and then provide the answer. Your first part is related to 44B2 notification. You are saying that if a state, let's say Bihar has, for Bihar, if for some scheme a notification has been issued under 44B2, it should be taken that for other states also the same notification should apply. Right now, this is not the position, but this suggestion is worth considering, and we'll have to see, because the same scheme may not be there in other states in the same form, and they may not want to use it in the same way as one state is thinking. So, but we may examine this, and if there is a case by other state which is exactly the same, we may think of either expediting it or providing some kind of a waiver. That's a good suggestion. Now, your second question was related to orphanages and children. Right now, we take the mobile numbers of the in charge of that orphanage or the child welfare officer, and that mobile number is used to communicate with them. So, but in case they get transferred, I think the mobile number update has to take place. Without that, at least I am not able to think of any mechanism. And
Okay, so I'll add to that. The other way the Aadhaar can be downloaded is through the print Aadhaar facility at the Aadhaar Enrollment Center. So there you just have to give your biometrics, the single fingerprint, and the Aadhaar can be downloaded. So it's not that only with the mobile the Aadhaar can be downloaded, but you can go to the Enrollment Center and there the biometrics can be given and print Aadhaar facility is there. It can be printed there.
so they will have to go to a center.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Hello. This is Dr. Gulshan Wadhwa from Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology. You have been telling about the use of Aadhaar by various agencies like bank and some private agencies like telecom companies. And what happened in the case of telecom Airtel 2 years back. So have we made any arrangement for Aadhaar to be linked to one single entity at a time or something? Or the last entered Aadhaar, how it is being used? Or do they need any permission also to use this Aadhaar for their authentications from the government?
The case I think you are referring to was that the case came to our notice that Airtel company, particular company, while issuing the SIM cards, they were using the biometrics for opening a payment account also in their bank also, payment bank also. That issue has been addressed. They were heavily penalized for this. The e-sign service provider which was involved in that was also taken out of the Aadhaar ecosystem. Now this, I think, issue has been long settled now. After that, we have not come across any such case.
You have been talking about the masked Aadhaar. What is it exactly? Can you explain in detail and how we can use it or why we should use it?
Masked Aadhaar, as we have mentioned, that my colleague has mentioned that while sharing the data from central government to state governments or within state government departments, the purpose, the background, I will take you to the slight background. The purpose for which the Aadhaar number is collected from the resident has to be specifically mentioned to the resident that this Aadhaar number an entity is collecting, that this will be used for this purpose only. As far as central government is concerned, we have taken opinion from learned AG, and it has been clearly opined that all these central government ministries and entities are to be considered as one entity. So Aadhaar number collected by one government department at central level can be shared with other central government departments. However, this cannot be done when the Aadhaar number related database or data is shared between central and state governments because they happen to be different entities. But masked Aadhaar, as per our regulation, that is 4 last digits, can be shared based on those 4 digits and other some attributes, PIN code or other things. The receiving entity can build its own unique set of numbers also.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the shortage of time, I would request if you can stop the question-answer session at the moment. Should we now roll on to the next phase? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for such elaborate and extensive PPTs.